You just got a letter in the mail saying that you have been selected for examination or being audited by the IRS. So what now? Hey, my name is Matt and I run a firm called TrueBooks that is a tax and accounting firm that specializes in helping real estate investors and business owners with their taxes and tax strategy. And in this video, I want to go over what you can expect the day that you get your letter from the IRS saying that you've been selected for examination. And make sure that you stick around till the end because we'll talk about ways to avoid an audit as well, which I definitely think this is something that you want to keep in your wheelhouse. Everybody is dreading the day that they get a letter from the IRS stating that they have been selected for examination. The first thing that I want to say is you are not going to receive a phone call, a text message, an email, anything like that letting you know that you've been selected for audit. It is going to come via mail. Yes, snail mail. Any correspondence that the IRS wants to send and get to you is going to come via mail. Now, there is an option if you sign up with their online portal and get an account, which I would recommend that you do so. You can turn on to be notified for any letters or notices that they're going to send you and be notified via email, which I definitely would recommend you do so that you can get to these problems quicker. Now, with that being said, let's jump into what to expect first when you get a letter stating that you've been selected for examination. But first, let's think about how you get selected for audit. And there's a multitude of reasons as to why you've been selected. These could be large transactions and large amounts that are shown on the tax return. This could be complex transactions with certain forms that you've had to file for those transactions. This could be spelling errors and mismatched 1099s. That's typically what we see the most. And there could be a variety of reasons as to why you've been selected, which is why it's good to have somebody review your tax return before it gets filed, obviously. Somebody that is a professional that understands the field of work that you're in, that can look through the return for some of these anomalies to catch it before it goes out the door and gets filed. So again, high deductions relative to income, large transactions, misreported 1099, spelling errors, all of those are things that could get you selected for audit. Now the day has come and you have received your letter. And no, we're not talking about Hogwarts. The IRS letter saying that you've been selected for examination. In this letter, they're going to call out two specific things: the year in which you've been selected for examination and the reason why and essentially what they're looking for. And then you're typically going to have 30 days to respond to this letter and let them know that you've received this information, and we'll start to gather these documents. What's going to come next is an IDR, typically. This is going to be an information document request where they're going to tell you what documents they want to see because of what they selected. Now, it's very important to keep in mind that when you receive this letter, not responding to these correspondence from the IRS is not the right move to do. Some people typically with tax will get these notices and let them just sit. And I would recommend not doing that because inaction can cost you penalties and interest for sitting back and not doing what you're supposed to be doing, which is helping them get this audit and examination along, collecting the respective documents and staying in communication with them. So don't sit on it if they send you this letter. And remember, never by phone or email, only by mail. Now, this is the nuts and bolts of the video where we talk about what to do once they send you that information document request and how to really prepare for this audit. The most recent audit that I had helped out with was a real estate investor that had tons of rental properties and a few different businesses. And the amount of time that was spent on the back end to gather the documentation was much more than you may think. I'm talking at least 25 hours or so, going through digital documents to collect bank statements, prior year tax returns, closing statements on some of these rental properties and things like that. But also documents that we had hard copies of, such as canceled checks, 1099 forms that we had, of course, both digitally and physically, contracts with vendors. There was a multitude of things that we have from those time periods. Remember, when you get that information document request and even that original examination letter, it's going to tell you the year that it's related to. So ideally, if you have all your documentation in a row and organized, it's going to be easy to go back and pull what it is that you need. Now, specifically, since I know some of the viewers here are real estate investors, and as well was this client that got selected for audit, there's going to be other things that you specifically as a real estate investor should be ready to pull in the event that you're flagged for audit. One of them being your real estate professional time log, showing the IRS that you meet the designation of being a real estate professional. More than 750 hours in the business of real estate and more than 1/2 your work time. Showing a log that you've hit those hours. That plus a mileage log. And then you have a material participation log showing that you've been involved in these properties and that you're doing the things that it takes to meet these qualifications for the tax strategies that we're putting in place, obviously. So making sure that you have the documentation to support the claims that you're making on the tax return. And last, one of the biggest things that people have the most problems with, and it's because they don't do proper accounting. For any of you that have watched a video of mine, I harp on accounting so much because it is the backbone of a business. You need to know what income, what expenses you have so that at the end of the day, you can be ready to do your tax return, but also know the health of your business. And so one of the documents that you're going to need if the examination has anything to do with a rental property or a business, any activity that has income and expenses is a general ledger. Your general ledger is going to break down every transaction that happened within one number on a tax return. So for example, take this number right here. All the IRS sees on their side is this one number that is listed on the tax return, but they cannot see every number or transaction that adds up to that total number on the tax return. This is what the general ledger is going to do. So at any time they select a number from your Schedule E, which is where you report your rentals, or your Schedule C, which is where your business is reported, or your 1120S, which is where your S corporation is, and they select one specific number on a tax return, 9 out of 10 times, you're going to have a general ledger that will support how it is that you came to that number. And that is so important that you know, because this is the report that's going to take you the most time to put together if you didn't have any sort of accounting software to do that work for you. This is where I'll make a quick plug for if you use an accounting software like QuickBooks or Stessa or anything like that, it's going to help you so that in the event that you get selected for audit, you can go back into your software, find that number that they were looking at, click it, and it's going to pop open the entire general ledger.